Besian, and today we are continuing our author read aloud of Xavie of Shamain. We are diving into part 6, covering chapters 6 and 7. If you're new here and want to stay updated on my writing journey, consider joining my newsletter at the link below. Last time, Yalonde and Xavie left Elowen and Hay. This time, let's see if the path leads to the lake in the valley and what Yalonde and Xavie will find. Here is part 6. Chapter 6. Basket weaving is a craft resurrected on Boreas in the latter part of the 4th epoch. Many industrial materials were used in the millennia before, which became inaccessible due to the move away from these technologies, rendering them unavailable. Throughout time, a small number of enthusiasts had preserved some of the knowledge of basket weaving or reed weaving in general, practicing it as a pastime or recreationally. This partial knowledge would be utilized to address the need for creating containers for a variety of uses out of available, sustainable materials. Boreaspedia, 21st edition. 30th March 05, 5th epoch. Yalonde. Shortly after we leave the intersection, our path turns in a generally eastern direction and starts to climb. It's a noticeable and manageable climb, but not easy. After an hour, we leave the last trees behind. They got sparser and more withered over the last 20 minutes due to the terrain turning rockier with only the occasional patch of soil. Our path through a valley follows the southern bank. On the opposite side, a towering mountain with steep rocky cliffs looks like a wall. The path at this point follows a general northeastern direction. I can see up ahead that the valley narrows, and the cliffs on the right side, the southern side, start rising up higher as well. It takes us another hour and a half to reach what looks like the end of the valley. Just as I start wondering if this is a cul-de-sac, the southern wall falls away and a quickly broadening valley becomes visible. A valley with a lake not far beyond this point and below. A valley that extends towards the east. Sure enough, after a couple hundred meters, we stand in the widened section of the valley. It's a beautiful, peaceful sight. The lake is not very large, perhaps 200 meters across at its widest and 500 meters long. Right in front of me is a small island a few meters off the edge of the lake. It looks like there have been rocks stacked into the lake to form a crude but sufficient causeway across the strip of water. I don't know why, but it feels like the place to go. I cross over the makeshift causeway, finding it surprisingly solid. While the island is technically an island, it's only about 12 meters in diameter, with the highest point about 5 meters above the water. There are some windswept, gnarly trees and shrubs, and a natural inlet on the lakeside not big enough for even a rowboat, just a cut along the rocky formation. A ledge about halfway up is just wide enough to serve as a pathway. Following this, I ascend to the top of the mount. This vantage point affords a picturesque view of the lake and its surrounding valley and woods. Circling the lake is a path big enough for a small cart. Smaller shrubs and the occasional tree stand along the lake's edge. On the far side of the path, dark evergreen trees grow. Dark, but not unfriendly. It feels peaceful and welcoming. At several spots around the lake's shore, there are larger patches of reed by the looks of it. These look odd, too homogeneous and cultivated. The island I'm standing on is not much more than a rock that a giant might have dropped into the lake. Nothing more than what I've already seen. Nearly nothing more. In a recess, perhaps 2 meters across and just deep enough and protected by the shrubbery around it, there lay the tattered remnants of a rowboat, No idea how that could have gotten there. Letting my gaze wander once more over the valley, I see it. About halfway up the lake on the near side, there is a pillar of smoke coming from an area right on the shore, obscured by dense, large shrubs. I guess that is where I'm heading. A house is built on stilts right above the lake. There are stairs going down to the water and a pontoon with a couple boats tied to it. A bridge connects the house's entrance to the land. I cross and am about to knock when the door opens. A female northerner about my age smiles at me. She's got blonde hair she keeps short, boyishly short. Her shape is willowy, obviously a result of her active lifestyle. Her movements are fluid, not in an unassertive way though. My gaze is drawn to her eyes. I'm not used to seeing pale or green eyes, and certainly not pale green eyes like the color of the lake. Hello Yalonde, hello Xavie. My name is Heidi. I'll be your host here. Her greeting is friendly, cheerful even, but at the same time it's clear she is a no-nonsense personality. Lunch will be ready shortly. I take it you'd like to get cleaned up and settled first? Her voice is quiet, melodic, flowing like water. I get the impression she's full of these apparent contradictions. Quiet, soft, tender by first impression, with a thoughtful, strong and tough core. I like her. Xavie is watching, mouth open. Now it's more than watching. He is observing and cataloging everything about her. Without waiting for a response, she walks toward the back of the house, shows us to our bedroom and leaves. There is definitely a pattern here. All our stations had the same kind of setup in the accommodations. I don't even need to ask. I know the answer will be to minimize distractions and allow us to focus on our pilgrimage. Over lunch, Heidi explains that we are here to learn about weaving baskets and all kinds of other things. We will also learn about fishing and caring for our waterscape, and swimming and diving. In early spring. I was never someone to spend much time in water. Certainly not in early spring at an altitude we have to expect snow any day this time of year. I look at Heidi, eyes narrowed and brow-furrowed. Is she pulling a prank on me? Don't worry. As you probably noticed, the valley's climate is mild. This is the result of the lake. It is far deeper than it looks in the center. There are geothermal currents emerging far below from cave systems. This heats up the lake, keeping it a pleasant temperature year-round. After lunch, Heidi takes us out to assess our swimming. We go by boat nearly all the way to the eastern end. The lake slowly gets deep at that end, and the bottom is nice, soft, but not murky, Heidi explains. Nearer to the shore, it's shallow enough for Xavie to stand, and for you, a bit farther in, it's deep enough to swim and dive while you're still able to stand if you need to. She starts to take off her shoes and socks as we glide toward the shore. A jerk of her head tells me to copy her, so I do. Once the boat slowly glides through shallow water, Heidi begins checking the depth with the paddle. She slows us down to a near standstill once the paddle shows only about 20 centimeters of water. When she climbs out of the boat, she holds it steady so I can get myself and Xavie out. Then she pulls it fully onto the shore. She starts taking her clothes off down to her underwear. I look at her doubtful. She laughs. Don't let Xavie see you hesitating or he'll copy that, she whispers to me. In you go, your choice if you have dry clothes afterward. I prefer to not have wet clothes when I'm out of the water. She winks at me. Now get in the water. I want to see how well you swim and dive. You'll be doing a lot of that while you're here, and there is no way we take any risks. And she just points to the lake. I set Xavie down, and while I undress, she undresses Xavie. She then wades into the lake, pushing me ahead with Xavie at her side. Once the water reaches Xavie's waist, she picks him up and sets him on her hips, all the while walking me out into the lake. The water is warm. It's much warmer than the air temperature, so it's reverse from what I expected. I'm feeling cold on the parts of my body that are out of the water. For the next hour, Heidi assesses my swimming and diving. It's passable but not great. She demonstrates some techniques, then we go into shallower waters and it's Xavie's turn. He's surprising me in that he's not hesitant at all. Not a usual first needing to observe before he does something. No, he enjoys the water and being in it. Then we dry off, get into our dry clothes and return to the house. Good call earlier. This is what we do over the next weeks. I was never fond of water and swimming, but I get the hang and taste of it during this time. Also, Xavie learns basic moves in the water and how to navigate towards something solid. He really enjoys the water. The lake is not too cold to swim for extended periods, exactly as Heidi announced. For a lot of the work, we are in the water. Being spring, there are more than the occasional rain showers, but these do not matter or bother you when you're already in the water. Weeks pass with trimming and planting reeds, weaving baskets and contraptions of all kinds. There are baskets one carries on the back like a rucksack to collect brushwood, coarsely woven baskets to keep fish confined in the water, contraptions that allow youngsters to sit either on your back or in your front, woven chairs, small and delicate baskets for collecting berries or mushrooms or eggs, storage baskets for vegetables, woven screens for shading or screening debris out of water, even braces woven to stabilize limbs while broken bones heal. It is fascinating how, with a small number of techniques and the right selection of reed, there seems no end to what could be done with weaving. I had no idea. I could not even imagine the possibilities because I was oblivious and ignorant of this craft. Besides the skills I picked up in the past few weeks, I think this is the biggest revelation, the biggest lesson learned. For the most part, I have no idea how much I don't know. It is humbling, but at the same time tremendously empowering and freeing. An invitation to explore, to ask, to be curious, to learn, to develop, to grow. Xavie becomes more self-aware, and it is easier for him to not be with me for several hours at a time. He also begins to make choices, as at every station he demands to have the lullaby sung to him every night. The lullaby Heidi sings is different, again, from the previous three. Her flowing voice and intonation, like a stream of water, make this lullaby, even the repeated verse, sound wholly differently. Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf, der Vater hüt dich Schaf, die Mutter schüttelt's Bäumelein, da fällt herab ein Träumelein. Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf. Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf, die Weiden geben Zweigelein, vom Schilf kommen Blätter fein, der Flechter wählt die Form groß und klein, schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf. I recognize that while something might seem unpleasant, and even turn out to be unpleasant, there is no reason not to try it out, and once started, to do your best to do it right. Not all you encounter will be the most pleasant experience, only the bright side. Where there is a bright side, where there is light, there are shadows. Embrace it all, as the shadows make the bright shine even more. How does that saying go? The first step, the most difficult step in solving any problem or challenge, is to recognize there is a problem or challenge to solve. I'm using my new skills to create a carry seat for Xavie so he can ride on my front, looking ahead with me. He is getting a bit big for a blanket, so upgrading now seems the right thing to do. Xavie tries to copy the weaving, but his fingers are neither strong enough yet, nor does he have the fine motor skills. But he is trying, and very tenacious at that. As on the farm and in the forest, I find Xavie bruised all over one late afternoon when I return from trimming a particularly resistant section of reeds. Same as I noticed the other times, his eyes are a shade darker and have a silvery ring to them. And this time, as weird as it sounds, and as superficial as it feels, it makes me content and relaxed, as if something has fallen into place within Xavie, as if an obstacle has been mastered, a fundamentally crucial step taken, like a line has been crossed that can't be uncrossed. It is a good thing, a necessary thing, a required thing. In all, Xavie is much more at ease here when encountering bodily sensations. He has changed much there, from the locking up he did before our pilgrimage to him now being at ease in the water, feeling surrounded and not even balking when something unseen touches him, is a huge difference and a relief. He is also developing an astounding sense of balance using the boats as a training platform. It is something I did not see coming, a positive experience for him of his body. And he is starting to eat copious amounts for a humanoid of that size. My hope is he is planning on doing some catching up on the growth front. It surely looks like it. The time at this station flies by in what feels like an instant. Despite all the reservations I had in the beginning, I have to admit that I enjoy this work, even the hours in the water. By embracing the unappreciated, by tolerating the unwelcome, by giving the unwanted the same attention as the desired, it still becomes fulfilling, and unexpectedly I value it and apply myself fully and with pride. We are all out at the eastern end of the lake one afternoon, fishing for rainbow trout where a small stream enters the lake and the water temperature is cooler, when I notice a pedestal beside the stream. I point it out to Heidi. They appeared 2 days ago. There are 3 altogether. You were ready to move to your next station a couple days ago. It seems you did not notice. One pedestal is on the northern side, about halfway down the lake, another is on the eastern end, and the last is on the southern side, about 2/3 of the way to the other end, along the path we originally came up from the island. Once we return from our fishing, I go for a round to visit all pedestals, even before I clean up. This time it is instantly clear which one to choose. It is no choice at all, actually. Once I return and get cleaned up, I let Heidi know I have decided and that it is time for us to move on to the next station. This evening we have a dinner of trout en papillon. It is delicate and tender, juicy and savory. It's a feast. Heidi presents us with a basket to carry all we will collect, one that will be of use in years to come. With the knowledge I now have, I can see and appreciate the craftsmanship and effort that went into this basket. I made it, and now I am to take it. For Xavie, Heidi crafted an eagle out of reeds. She wove it in a way that makes even the reeds appear like feathers on the wings. What a piece of art! And the different colorization of the reeds authentically paint the patterns seen on most Borean eagles. In the morning, Heidi takes us by boat to the other side of the lake. It is the pedestal I first noticed yesterday. It sits at the mouth of a path beside the creek emptying into the lake right there. We say our goodbyes and I activate the emblem. Then we set out into the forest, following the path along the creek. Chapter 7. The Borean sheep are a derivative of the traditional sheep settlers brought to any new planet. And these have adapted to the Borean environment over the span of several millennia. Not only do they grow a bit larger, but their arrangement and composition of teeth has adapted to the brushier grasses. Their reproduction rates have slowed by around 15% to counter the slightly extended lifespan and smaller number of natural predators. While the wool is mostly similar and can be processed with the same technique and equipment, there is a slightly increased resistance to water and mold in the Borean wool. Herding in the fifth epoch typically happens in 3 to 5 flocks of about 1,000 animals each. It is this number that balances manageability and milk output to allow for efficient processing. Boreaspedia, 24th edition. 22nd June 05, 5th epoch. Yalonde. The path and creek start off in a northerly direction and after about 1.5 hours turn towards the east again. The path climbs out of the woods on the side of a steep mountainside. It's not a cliff, but it's harsh and steep enough that barely any trees take root. There are shrubs and reeds, yes, but nothing more substantial. Not long past an outcropping around which the wind blows heavily, the landscape changes. The valley opens and the bare, rough rock makes room for rolling, grassy hills that look like gentle waves rising far ahead to become the mountains, creating this breathtaking backdrop. We follow the path up over the first hill and down again. As the path starts to ascend the next hill, I notice the grass has been trampled in a large area. No, not just trampled, but grazed, and there is an abundance of small, roundish black objects laying around, always in groups. I recognize these marks left on the world. In Shamain we have a couple sheep flocks as well. You always remember when you stepped in sheep poop as a youngster, or, in Eri's case, went to pick one up. "Look at that nice round stone," she said. A giggle escapes me at the memory. Ever since, we called it the Eri stone. How is she doing? The thought is gone in a second. The aftertaste lingers. We follow the path over 2 more of these very similar looking hills. Letting my gaze wander up the next hill, following the path, I notice what looks to be the remainder of a long-dead gnarly tree. When we reach it, we can see a small farmstead down below. Not sure if farmstead is the right expression. More a cabin, perhaps? I wonder what we will find this time. The grazed and trampled areas. The whole area around the cabin is trampled, from lots of sheep. Who will our hosts be this time? We move on down to the cabin. As we approach, it turns out to be bigger than what it looked like from afar. Attached to the right side of the cabin is a roofed area that seems to be enclosed on all sides but the front. Several work tables and workstations are visible, plus several larger cans are in there as well. A workspace of sorts, but for what, I'm not certain. "Hey, Yalonde!" a cheery voice calls from the dark depth of the work area. A slender, blonde female Westerner about my height emerges. "I'm Rosie. You'll find Apple in the cabin, preparing lunch. I'll see you inside in a few minutes. I'll just finish cleaning up here." We make our way to the front door, which now stands ajar. "Come on in. Lunch will be ready in a moment." We walk in and are greeted by a lithe redhead Westerner female with an infectious grin. "This is something new. 2 of you hosting us. So far, when it was 2, it was a couple. We are 3, sisters, actually. Lily is out herding the flocks. For it to be worthwhile to make cheese and our woven and knitted products, we need plenty of sheep." Apple explains, all the while packing what looks to be our lunch into a basket. Of course, we lose the occasional animal to eagles, coyotes, and wolves. As long as the flocks are out and about, somebody needs to stay with them. It's possible, but not sustainable for only one person. She takes a blanket off a shelf and places it next to the basket on the table. She then proceeds to fill 4 canteens with water and adds them to the pile too. A smaller number of sheep makes it less efficient with all the equipment needed, so here we are, sharing it between the 3 of us. She shrugs. It does not sound like she minds at all. Ready? Rosie asks from behind us. Yes, let's go. Yalonde, you can leave your pack here, Apple says and points to a place behind the front door. Go where? I ask. I must look confused as Rosie links her arm with mine. Her bubbly mood is kind of rubbing off on me immediately. Taking lunch to Lily, Rosie chips. How else could she have something to eat? She can't leave the flocks unattended, so whoever is at the cabin takes lunch out to the one attending the flocks. We eat together. We head out, Apple and Rosie carrying the large basket between them. Within 10 minutes, we crest another hill, and the sight is shocking, in a good way. The area on the hillside we're standing on, down through the shallow valley and up the hills in every direction, is a sea of sheep. I couldn't even attempt to guess how many there are. Lily leans on a large staff, overlooking it all. She calls out and whistles, and 6 dogs bark and run and herd the sheep. Another whistle, a different one this time, and the dogs herd the sheep in a different direction. Within a couple minutes, the sheep that were looking like a tendril shooting out from the center mass are back in the group. We reach Lily. She's a bit shorter than the rest of us and has voluptuous curves. Her black hair is braided and has a bluish sheen to it. She appears to be a bit more serious, a bit more melancholic than Apple and Rosie. Over lunch, I learned the basics of how everything is organized. While the flock looks dauntingly large, only the female sheep at the end of the nursing period, can be milked. And they don't give much milk either. Come shearing season, there will be helpers coming in to handle the number of sheep that are in the flocks. And yes, while it looks like one large flock from this vantage point, and with how they are all herded together, it is actually 3 flocks. Our hosts rotate their duties, sometimes by volunteering, sometimes by raffle, sometimes by preference, sometimes by time since each manned a certain task. Xavie and I will be jumping between all the tasks and get pulled into anything out of the routine so we can experience and learn as much as possible in the time we will be here. The 3 expect the helpers for shearing to arrive in 10 days. They will stay for 5 days. The next few days will be preparation for the 3 helpers, getting all the equipment ready, specifically everything to handle the fleece once the sheep are sheared. After all, it's going to be around 18,000 kilograms of wool. The preparations keep us busy, especially learning everything along the way about keeping, herding, and milking sheep. Out of the milk, we make several types of cheese. Some are to be consumed fresh, some need more time to ripen, and some can be stored for extended periods. Some are plain, some have herbs added, some are treated on the rind, some are in brine. I never appreciated how many different types of cheese there are. Sure, I knew, but I didn't understand. Not really. Nor did I know how much work and effort goes into making cheese, how much milk is required to end up with cheese. The day before the helpers arrive, we set up a yurt to accommodate them and offer as much hospitality as feasible. It is a bit later than usual this year, owing to a colder than normal spring. Nothing to worry about though. There is enough time left to get the wool cleaned, treated and sorted before the short days and long nights in late autumn. Those are used for spinning and weaving the wool. A second, larger yurt is set up to store the fleece. It will take a few days to process it all, and keeping it sheltered in case of rain or possibly snow is the plan. And yes, although it is June, up here there is always a possibility of snow. The shearing is a period of intense work. It is long days, starting before the first light of day and ending around sunset, filled with demanding manual labor. It's not a wait, it's the steady, never-relenting hours of continued movement with some added bulky weight that wears one down. And then the real work begins. Preparing, washing, cleaning, sorting of the fleece to then spin it into a yarn that can be used for weaving or knitting. Our hosts do both. They have a loom to weave and a mechanical knitter to speed up the knitting process. On the knitting side, they are specialized in warm, cozy socks and have developed their own patterns for pullovers that have a reputation of being warm even when moist, but also excel at repelling water in the first place. On the weaving side, they mainly produce large, thick blankets used for camping in cold climates or as afghans. They also fashion rope out of their lower quality wool. It is not as tough, not as strong as rope made from sisal, hemp or seaweed, but it does the job around the farm, and it is a good use for the fleece that can't be used for the other products. I enjoy making rope because of its long stretches of monotonous work. While that allows for talking or watching the others doing whatever they are doing, it's the absence of other intellectual stimulation that lets my thoughts wander. That is my refuge. It allows me to catch up and digest all that Xavie and I have experienced in the last months and how it has changed us both. The most fascinating product they create, I think, are the finely knit afghans. They are light, they are soft, they are warm. Real treasures. Days turn into weeks with spinning, weaving, knitting, making rope, herding, milking, making cheese. I rotate through the stations and our hosts are a delight. Every single one of them, but especially if two or all three are together. It for sure looks like Xavie has wrapped them around his fingers, as little as they are. Xavie adds to his vocabulary consistently, understanding and repeating words. He starts to get gleefully delighted when one of us reads stories to him, and every evening he insists on hearing the lullaby Rosie sang for him the first evening. He differentiates between the three and selects for himself who will sing the lullaby to him each night. Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf, der Vater hüt die Schaf, die Mutter schüttelt's Bäumelein, da fällt herab ein Träumelein. Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf. Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf, in der Herde weiden Schaf, aus Vlies Wolle spinnen, Decken weben, Kleidung stricken, Schlaf, Kindlein, schlaf. What caught me unexpectedly is to see how these three, while vastly different in character and preferences, found a way to share all the duties in an agreeable way. There is an unspoken understanding between them that even the unwelcome tasks get done. Everyone shoulders part of the burden, none is exempt. And even when it looks chaotic how they are organized, it is a system that works for them. I guess that is what a real team is. You rely on the others to do their parts, and everyone is part of a larger structure, a larger organism that, as a whole, functions in a unique way and produces as a cohesive unit results that are more than the sum of what the individuals could have done. One morning in late October, over breakfast, I tell Lily and Rosie, it is time for us to move on. Don't ask me how, I just know. Lily tilts her head and looks thoughtful for a moment, then announces, we had planned to do a perimeter round the next couple days anyhow. I guess it will happen this morning and we can see which routes are open to you. After breakfast, Lily takes Xavie and me and we set out to do said perimeter round. Usually this is done every few days to check for signs of predators around the edges of the larger area. It takes a good 4 hours, sometimes 5, to inspect everything. I have noticed in the past that there are several paths leading in all kinds of directions, so I suppose we will find a pedestal this time around at a few of these. We find 3 pedestals and traces of coyotes to make it less routine for the next little while, at least for the 3 that will stay. One of the pedestals is at a path only faintly visible in the northwest. Once I see it, I know this is not the one. One is in the northeast, and we find another one in the south. The coyotes are in the area of the northeastern pedestal, and this is the one I'm drawn to. The moment I'm certain about my choice, I let our hosts know. All 3 would like to walk us to the head of the path, taking us to the next station. But as not all can be absent for that long because of the coyotes moving into the area, they revert to raffling it off. Xavie does the honors and absolutely floors us all when he reads out Rosie's name. I'm not sure if he actually read it or he managed to recognize the word and put it together with the correct name. Our hosts present me with a finely woven, warm blanket and Xavie with a youngster-sized one. And then Xavie gets his first own books. Each of the 3 gives Xavie the book he enjoyed reading with them. I didn't realize that there was a preference in the books depending on who reads to him. He is starting to develop his very own peculiar way to interact with the world. How exciting! Lily ruffles his hair, and with an absent expression in her eyes, she says, "And don't you dare to lose these outstanding eyes of yours. With these you'll drive all females mad one day. But most of all, once you find one that does not bark at the sight of your eyes, is not easily stared down but holds your gaze, hold on to her. She'll be your mate." Then she shakes her head as if waking up from a daydream. Rosie leads us first toward the northeast until we arrive at the pedestal at the mouth of a valley with rising mountain ridges on the north and south. I activate the emblem and we continue on in a north-northeasterly direction for a bit, while the grassy flat areas transition into occasional shrubs, then into groves of young trees until we come onto a path. We follow this path for a short distance towards the east to the edge of a dark yet friendly coniferous forest. Up this path, about an hour in, there will be a fork. Take the one on the left. The other one does not take you anywhere. It ends at a mine that lays abandoned now. This is where I leave you. It was a pleasure having you stay with us, and from us all, the best wishes. Rosie hugs us and has obvious difficulty saying her goodbyes to Xavie. Thank you. We appreciate the hospitality and that you all taught us this much. Please say our thanks again to Abundantly, and most importantly, embrace them hard from Xavie, especially Lily. We turn in opposite directions, and Xavie and I make our way into the forest. And that brings us to the end of today's reading. What has surprised you about the pilgrimage so far? I'd love to hear your take and thoughts in the comments below. If you want to explore more of this world, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter at the link in the description. It's where I share all my secret projects and early updates first. Next time, in part 7, we'll see what comes next for Yalonde and Xavie. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, or click the playlist right here to catch up on episodes you've missed. Peace.